AOC.
Yeah, but first, I think we should have a moratorium on white dorks on Zoom calls.
Okay.
You know, we have like
Done.
We have Fastest and we have fan mail, and I just can't listen to those Nate Silvers and these Saliza people just bites into this glorious show. AOC. What? She's kind of fun in a silly but earnest, wrong but adorable way. She's like your daughter when she comes back from her first year at Brown, full of half-baked, in need of some gentle, patient deprogramming. But people have to realize new faces doesn't mean new ideas. Drives me crazy. AOC has never introduced a fresh idea or issue in her life. The reason why she gets along with Bernie is because she's like an 80-year-old leftist in a used bookstore. I mean, she may look fresh, but she's as stale as an abandoned futon on the street. It's like, I listen to her, I go, I heard that at Berkeley. Yes, I pay people to wear handcuffs. But she did this because she knew the media would obey. Let's watch the tape. You know, she'd be a great mime, like the Latina version of Marcel Marceau. In fact, here she is later in her jail cell. Of course, AOC was mocked on social media for imitating being handcuffed, which is a change from her usually being mocked for imitating a congresswoman. That was... To be fair, she'd love to spend the $8, but she already bought a Tesla. He also tweeted a photo of some ugly AOC merch she's trying to hawk for $58. Overpriced merch, AOC. Seems pretty capitalistic of you, which according to you makes you evil. And according to anyone paying attention, also makes you full of shits. Meantime, AOC has taken a break from doing nothing to get into a beef with the Twitter chief. On Tuesday, she tweeted, LMAO at a billionaire earnestly trying to sell people on the idea that free speech is actually an $8 a month subscription plan. That's a reference to Musk's plan to charge people $8 a month for verified blue checkmark status. But he hit back tweeting, your feedback is appreciated. Now pay $8.
And of course, she was back at it again. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez striding into the spotlight like someone who skimmed a Reddit thread on macroeconomics and decided she was ready to rewrite capitalism. With all the swagger of a college sophomore fresh off a semester of activist theory, AOC launched into one of her signature rants, this time declaring war on billionaires with the kind of wide-eyed certainty usually reserved for motivational speakers and failed tech startups. Enter Greg Gutfeld, armed with nothing but a raised eyebrow and a one-liner. The man didn't need to debate. He just had to exist while she talked. AOC's latest appearance was the usual cocktail of recycled talking points and theatrical passion, where she declared that money is a social illusion and that if we just chant "tax the rich" loud enough, the national debt will pack up and leave. It was classic AOC, loud, confident, and as factually stable as a tower of Jenga blocks in an earthquake. She spoke like someone trying to explain compound interest using sock puppets, tossing around buzzwords like confetti at a protest. According to her, the economy is broken because billionaires exist, and if we all just hugged a tree and believed hard enough, we'd all have universal income and avocado toast for life. Gutfeld, he just watched, sipping metaphorical scorn like an espresso, while she swung at economic principles like they owed her money. His comedy didn't need to punch down. AOC was already flailing like a cat in a bathtub. She rolled out the Green New Deal again, her legislative fever dream where fossil fuels vanish, cows apologize for existing, and we all live in solar-powered pods fueled by optimism. Listening to her pitch this plan is like watching someone try to sell a self-watering chia pet as a viable irrigation system. But Greg, he didn't shout. He didn't even try to correct her. He just let the numbers speak, because AOC's math tends to have the same reliability as a horoscope written by a drunk economist. And then there's the way she speaks with such unearned conviction, like a contestant on a game show who's absolutely certain France is in South America. She doesn't question her logic. She baptizes it in moral certainty and flings it at the audience like a TED Talk gone rogue. Meanwhile, Gutfeld sits back like a teacher letting a student present a group project solo, just to see how long it takes before they realize they didn't do the reading. He doesn't dismantle her ideas with rage. He uses calm, cutting precision, each jab timed perfectly, each joke sharper than the last. Let's talk about her guaranteed jobs pitch, the bold idea that the government should be your employer, life coach, and lunch monitor all in one. Imagine the DMV handling your performance reviews. That's the utopia she's pushing. Gutfeld, without raising his voice, simply paints the picture of bureaucratic chaos with just enough sarcasm to make the point. Central planning doesn't create prosperity, it creates hold music. AOC envisions an economy where effort is optional and outcomes are equal, which sounds noble until you remember someone has to foot the bill. Spoiler, it's you. As for her climate panic routine, it's become a predictable ritual. Cue the alarm bells, the shaky voice, the dire warnings of a world with 10 years left, though she's been saying 10 years left for the last 5. Gutfeld doesn't need to scream about it. He just deadpans that even the ozone layer is tired of hearing it. Her version of climate advocacy sounds more like a teenager grounding their parents for using plastic straws. Solar panels cringe. Wind turbines spin out of embarrassment. And don't you dare mention nuclear energy. She treats it like it personally insulted her Instagram followers. And then came her pièce de résistance, solving wealth inequality through vibes. Yes, vibes. No jobs, no innovation, no entrepreneurship. Just good feelings, shared wealth, and endless handouts from a government already in debt. It's like solving a house fire with a scented candle. AOC doesn't debate, she performs. And Gutfeld doesn't attack. He just holds up a mirror and lets the absurdity implode. Her fans cheer, her critics wince, and the rest of us? We sit back and watch the ideological fireworks, hoping someone in the back remembers to bring a calculator. Because at the end of the day, when it's AOC versus math, the odds are never in her favor. And Gutfeld, he's just the guy with the popcorn, the punchlines, and enough patience to wait for the next meltdown. She was back on the stage again, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, brimming with recycled outrage and Pinterest-level economics, delivering her usual sermon about how the government should just crank up the printers and hand out money like it's a birthday party for social justice. Equity, she argued, could be achieved if we all just imagined hard enough and screamed tax the rich with enough Instagram filters. Even the astrology crowd tilted their heads like, wait, this isn't how manifestation works. Her entire vision for the economy sounded like a lo-fi playlist titled, Beats to Nationalize Industries Too. And there sat Gutfeld, arms folded, expression frozen somewhere between amusement and concern, waiting for the right moment to drop a single eyebrow. No stats, no PowerPoint, just that look that says, did you just say that with a straight face? That was his whole rebuttal, and honestly, it was all he needed. Because here's the reality. The rules of economics aren't TikTok trends. You can't vibe your way out of inflation or affirm your way through supply chain chaos. And yet there was AOC again, sipping on artisan matcha in her designer apartment, ranting about capitalism while live streaming on tech owned by the very billionaires she rages against. If hypocrisy were energy efficient, AOC could power New York City during a blackout. Gutfeld pointed out with casual clarity, she rails against corporations while using all their products to spread her message. It's like protesting fast food with a Big Mac in hand. And somehow, she still positions herself as the voice of the people, even though she's about as relatable as an HBO drama about French aristocrats. Her disdain for gas stoves, pickup trucks, and unfiltered speech makes her sound like she's beta testing an authoritarian app disguised as a lifestyle brand. Gutfeld, meanwhile, doesn't swing wildly. He doesn't have to. He's built a career out of calmly dismantling this sort of hashtag activism. Where disagreement makes you a fascist, statistics are microaggressions, and opposing views are treated like hate crimes. AOC thrives in emotional theatrics wrapped in curated lighting. If you push back, she doesn't argue, she accuses. First comes the meltdown, then the label. Racist, sexist, capitalist monster. It's not dialogue. It's a moral booby trap disguised as a TED Talk. She cries oppression while cashing government checks, nabbing book deals and floating down red carpets like she's starring in The Real Socialists of Capitol Hill. Gutfeld just watches, unbothered, as she picks fights with reality and gets dunked by basic logic. She calls herself brave for repeating trending slogans, but the moment you ask for numbers, she calls foul. When she contradicts herself, she calls it nuance. When you notice, she calls you problematic. The consistency is almost impressive. No matter the topic, climate, economy, gender, or sandwich pricing, AOC always finds a way to blame capitalism or point fingers at anyone right of yoga class politics. Her Twitter feed reads like a Mad Lib filled in during a sociology class group project. And Gutfeld? He doesn't bother arguing. He autopsies. Her ideas collapse faster than a folding chair under pressure. It's not because he's mean, it's because the contrast is hilarious. Her arguments are feel-good slogans dressed up as policy. His response? Reality check with a wink. And let's not forget the greatest hits. Crying in front of a parking lot during a protest, posing like a socialist Marie Antoinette at the Met Gala with Tax the Rich on a dress worth more than most cars, and faking handcuffs during a staged arrest. Her entire brand is rules for thee, not for me, spoken through a ring light and typed with a manicured thumb. Gutfeld doesn't need fire and brimstone. He just holds up the absurdity like a museum exhibit and lets the audience laugh. Because when AOC opens her mouth, it's like a TED Talk hosted by a Tumblr mod. Somewhere, an economics professor cringes into their coffee. And Gutfeld? He's just sitting back, watching it all with a smirk and a mic, turning contradictions into comedy gold. She speaks about justice like it's a coupon code, proposes policies like she's improv riffing at a coffee shop, and reacts to criticism like it's a personal attack on her chakras. Meanwhile, Greg remains calm, laying traps of logic she can't see until she's already stepped in them. No yelling, no panic, just the soft thud of another buzzword collapsing under scrutiny. Every time AOC speaks, she gives him more material than a streaming comedy special. Whether it's her economic plans that could bankrupt a lemonade stand, or her foreign policy ideas that sound like they were brainstormed in a group chat named Feelings First, she keeps serving, and Gutfeld keeps scoring. He doesn't even destroy her out of cruelty. It's just that the gap between her confidence and her content is so wide, it's practically a comedy act on its own. She's a fortune cookie fighting a calculator, a revolutionary who's allergic to math. So while AOC continues to build her political empire out of recycled tweets, protest couture, and self-righteous rants, Greg Gutfeld leans back, sips his metaphorical espresso, and lets reality do the roasting. Because in the end, all he has to do is point. And when the outrage fizzles out and the Instagram filters fade, she'll still be on live stream insisting that emotions should write laws, while Greg airs the highlight reel of her latest meltdown. And once again, the